with doing the big three of shoulder, spine, and hip, this is the next layer that you can add on of wrist, elbow, ankle, and knee cars. Okay, so for wrist, you can be seated or kneeling or standing, whatever is comfortable for your body. So instead of doing the typical wrist floppy stuff, we want to really clamp down and block out everything else and focus on the wrist joint and make sure we hit every nook and cranny of the wrist capsule, the wrist joint, and really hit the end range of our range of motion. That's what's going to give us all the benefits of doing any sort of joint circle, is really getting the whole range of motion, hitting all those mechanoreceptors, which send a lot of information up to our brain, and it also properly warms up the entire joint. This is not intentional enough. This only gets part of your range of motion. So what I like to do is grab onto my wrist to stabilize my forearm. And then I'm going to take my wrist, I'm going to go down into extension, and then come over, inwards. So I like to go down and in, then I come in, then I come up and in, and up and out, out, down and out, down. Okay, other direction, down, down and out, out, up and out. Ooh, that's a hard transition for me. Up and in, down and in, down. You could also do these by then switching and going into, so we're in a forearm supinated position here. You could also go into a forearm pronated position and do the same thing that we just did. You could also, so depending on what your skill activity is, if you are somebody that for your wrist skills that you use, if you're grabbing onto something like a bar or whatever and then having to move around, you might want to consider doing a fist, and that feels slightly different. If your grip is something like with a thumb out, you could also do that one. That would be appropriate for your skill. And then there's even some special grips in gymnastics and CrossFit that you might want to play around with and do those as well. So same thing, I like to do at least one rep in one direction and one rep in the other direction. I'll do more if I have time. So the other side, same thing. I like to clamp down and make sure I lock down my forearm. I come down into extension, and then I go down and in, and then I go in, up and in, up and out, out, down and out, down. And then I switch directions, down, down and out, out, up and out, up and in, down and in, down. And then again, if you wanted to go to a pronated forearm position and do them from there, you can do that as well. Elbow cars. So for elbow cars, elbows do flexion, extension. They also do supination, pronation. So we want to add all of those to get the full elbow joint working. So we can start palm up. We can start in a supinated position and start in extended elbow, and really try to fight to maintain that supination as you flex the elbow. Find that end range of both supination and the flexion. And now rotate into pronation and try to maximize that and really try to fight and hold that as you now extend the elbows. Same thing, try to keep that pronation maximized and maintain that as you now bend the elbow. And pause and find that end range of both. Now go back into supination, really try to maintain that. Slow and controlled as you come down. These can look really easy, but if you make them very intentional, then they are more challenging. Now let's look at the ankle. And I like to free up the wrist before I do the elbow. I find that the elbow ones feel a little bit better after I freed up the wrist a little bit. Same thing with lower extremity. I like to free up the ankle a little bit first and then work my way up to the knee. But you don't have to do in that order. Sometimes it feels like it works better for my body. Two positions, or there's a bunch of different positions you can do this. So one position is combat, where you bring your arm under one leg over the other. And you can kind of support your knee here and do ankle cars from here. Or you could just hold here, or you could put your ankle on a block, and sometimes this is helpful to really monitor the rest of your leg and make sure that it's not helping out and that you're getting just the ankle joint. So I'll show you it from here. So for this one, you're going to go into plantar flexion, pointing down, and really maximize that. And now you're gonna go down and in, and then you're gonna go in, up and in, up and out, out, down and out, really fight for it, these are hard, and then down. And now we're gonna try to go in the opposite direction. You can relax for a second, point down into plantar flexion, go down and out, out, up and out, up and in, down and in, down. Good. And make a note if your hip or if your knee is really trying to help that ankle out. It happens. You might not have as much of an ankle as you think once you start to lock down everything else and you see what is real true ankle movement. Same thing, here you really want to lock down everything else so that you can focus everything on the ankle and you can get good information about what areas seem to be a little bit limited or if there's any pain or pinching. Again, work in a pain-free, pinch-free range for all of these joint movements. So you're going to point down, down and out, out, up and out, up and in, down and in, down. We're getting every single nook and cranny of the ankle joint, which is great. Now we're gonna go in the opposite direction. So you can take a break and then now go into plantar flexion, go down and in, up and in, up and out, down and out, down. Good. Now we're going to do knee cars. So your knee, pretend this is your knee joint. Pretend this is your tibia, this is your femur, so this is your lower leg. It actually does rotate a little bit. Just like your elbow does supination, pronation. This is very obvious and much more pronounced, but the same thing happens with your tibia bone. So I like to do tibial capsule cars to help people feel this before we do the actual full car. So how to do that. So start with one leg and also, so this is the tibial rotation. See how that's different than me just moving my ankle? I'm moving my tibia. So ankle's gonna stay quiet and it's really just gonna be the tibia moving. So think about, and you can grab your own tibia if you want to see how this feels. You won't hurt yourself. So you can try to rotate your tibia to external rotation, and then the foot just comes along for the ride. The foot's not driving it. Now I want you to dig your heel into the ground. And now you might feel this outside part of your leg firing up a little bit. That's the tibial external rotation. Same idea, but now we go the other direction. We go into internal rotation and the foot just follows along. And now try to dig your heel in here and you'll feel more on the inside of your leg. And that's tibial internal rotation. So we're gonna take this tibial rotation and we're gonna add knee flexion extension. And then that will get us our knee tibial cars. So what that looks like, you can go into that combat position like I showed for the ankle. You can go under and over. You don't have to do that. You could just hold here and just stabilize your thigh here and work from it here. That's totally fine. And if you want to be even more comfortable, you could sit with your back against the wall for some extra support on this to be able to hold here. Or you could always just prop your leg up on something like on a foam roll or something like that too, if you want. So what we're gonna do is gonna add that tibial internal external rotation to knee extension and flexion. So start in that tibial external rotation, and if you need to, dig your heel in to feel that a little bit. And now you're going to really fight, maintain that external rotation of the tibia as you extend. And now you're going to go into that internal tibial rotation as you slow and controlled come down to knee flexion. Maintain that internal rotation and now extend the knee. And then rotate into external rotation as you flex. Good. Same thing other side. You can do that capsule cars first if you want, where think about rotating to the outside and now dig your heel in. And now you might feel it on the outside. And then take and rotate your tibia to internal rotation, dig your heel in, and now you'll feel it more on the inside. Good. And now we'll add the knee extension flexion. So let's get started with, let's say, the external rotation of the tibia. Dig your heel in, really try to feel that. Now maintain that as you come into knee extension. Rotate tibial internal rotation and try to flex. And try to maintain that internal rotation as you go into extension. Switch to tibial external rotation as you come down into flexion. You can also do these with heel slides, so you can move with them a little bit differently. So you can, again, try to maintain tibial external rotation, flexion, and now drag and go out to extension, rotate, internal rotation. Make sure your knee stays pointing up as you come back. Sometimes what happens when doing these drags is people compensate and their knees flop all around, and that's not rotation. Your knee's gonna stay pointing up as the tibial rotates. Good. So there's the rest of the extremities and your second layer of adding these cars into your warm-up